All right, welcome to this lesson here where we're going to be taking a look at plotting points on a coordinate grid. And while we do this here, we're going to be looking over kind of the general procedures as to how to do it, as well as what the expectations are with these types of questions. So let's start at the beginning. Let's take a look at a number line. Now, in my class, we've taken a look at some number lines just recently and how to label them. We don't know we have to put in benchmarks. And so what we're going to do with this number line here is we're going to put in a whole bunch of benchmarks that look like that. Yeah, it's just a grid. So each one of those lines represents a benchmark, and we will end up labeling them as well as we go forward. Now, we're also going to have another number line, and this one's going to be our y. But because we already have x as our horizontal, we're going to be able to relate the x and the y together if we turn it vertical, just like that. And then let's slide it into place, and there we go. We have our x and our y axes that are a part of our coordinate grid. Now you'll notice on the grid, those lines, the horizontal lines are going to represent our benchmarks for y. So those lines represent where y is equal to certain numbers, and the vertical lines are going to represent the benchmarks for x, which is where the x are those values. All right, so now that we have that, we need to label our benchmarks so that we know how far apart those lines are spaced. The spacing could be anything, okay? It really could be anything. In my case, I'm going to use ones as the example, and so I'm going to label every other one just to make it simpler, not as crowded, at least on my grid, and so I've gone every other one. I don't label the origin at 0, 0, but that could be labeled as well. Now we're going to do the same thing for y, and again, the spacing that I use on y does not have to be the same as x, but I will, in this case, also go up by ones. Now, if we have a point as such, okay, this is the relationship, or this is the point between where 4 on the x and 6 on the y meet. And so we call that point 4, 6. That is a coordinate point that is on this grid, okay? Where that point is, it's a relationship where x equals 4 and y equals 6. We could also have a point where we have a negative in the x, and then in that case we have negative 5, 2 here. So on the x we go to negative 5, so that's on the other side of the origin. And in the y, I'm still going to use a positive, and that is on 2. So a couple things to remember when we are creating a graph. Number one, draw the x and the y axis on the grid. The axis can be wherever makes most sense based on the points given. So in this case here, I have it in the middle, but we can always put the y on the far end if we want, or on either side, depending on if we have lots of negatives or just positives of a certain variety. Number two, we're going to label each axis with x or y. You'll notice that I did mine right on by the arrows. Make sure we have arrows to show that it is continuous, and evenly spaced numbers. In my case, I went up by ones. You might want to go up by 2s or 3s or 5s, depending on the size of the numbers you have that you need to place onto the grid. And then finally, plot points on the graph. Each point should be labeled. Coordinate points have brackets around them. So like 4, 6, relationship where x is 4, y is 6, and there's a set of brackets that go around them. All right, let's try a couple of examples as we go. I'd like you to, with this example here, try to graph out or plot out these 4 points on a coordinate grid. Gladly pause the video, and you can start it up when you have that all together. All right, let's go through the answer, or what it might look like. So here's my grid. I'm going to put my x and my y kind of towards the left hand and bottom side because I only have positive values. This way, when I label it out, I can still go up by ones, and I'm going to get all the way up to make sure I have 11, which is my biggest x value. And for the y's, I can also get up to 13, which is my biggest y value. Now to plot them out, 1, 5 is going to be right there where x equals 1 and y equals 5. 10, 3 is on the bottom right corner there where x is 10 and y is 3. 0, 10 is up on the y-axis. That is where x is 0 and y is 10. And then 11, 13 is up in the top right corner where the x value is 11 and the y value is 13. All right, try this one out. A little bit bigger numbers. Okay, graph it out. see how you do, and we'll come back with the answer shortly. All right, let's go through the answer to this one here. Again, I'm going to draw out my grid. Again, I only have positives, so I might as well put the x and the y kind of towards the edges, so we just have positive values. But now when we label, our biggest x value is 20, so instead of going up by 1s, which got me up to 13, I'm going to go up by 2s so that I get all the way up to 26 on the x's, and the same thing for the y's because I need to get up to 26 on the y's as well. Now, when we plot the points, they're going to look like this. There's our 4 points. Hopefully, when you did yours, you were able to get very similar points. And what I always say is make sure to label your points, write out what point it is. That way, even if it's not a super neat graph, at least I can recognize where that point is. All right, let's do another one. Here we got some negatives in there. Again, pause the video, start it back up when you're ready, and then we'll go through the answer. All right, let's take a look here. So this is our grid. Now you'll notice because we have negatives both in x and y, I've decided to put my axes in the middle, and I'm going to be able to fit all of the points in if we're going up by 1s. At least that's what I'm going to do with mine. And so we plot the points. We have both positive points and negative points, as well as a point that is on the y-axis. And so hopefully your points looked something like that. All right, okay. So again, just going through and doing a little bit of practice. Here's 5 points I'd like you to label on a graph. Go ahead and do that now, and then start the video again when you are done. Let's take a look at what it should look like. Again, we have negatives and positives, and so I'm going to make my axes in the middle. We're going to plot we're going to go up by 1s again, as that will work, and then we're going to plot these points. Now, because I have a letter in front of each, I'm just going to label it with the letter, but that references the points that we have there and where they should be. Now, second part of this one here, I'd like you to draw lines between those two dots. You'll notice here that that line on top, so line AD, okay, would be like this line right here. Okay, so that's a line between A and D, and just includes A and D. It could potentially be a line that goes through A and D, but for this sake, we're just going to go from A to D. Now, from C to B, maybe you've already done this. Okay, it's going to look like that. A to E is going to be here, and CE is going to be there. And you've just created a very nice M on your graph. Well done. Okay, good job. Plotting points is just a matter of making sure that your X and your Y values are graphed out, that you're plotting the points and labeling where they go, that your graph is also labeled so that you know where the points go and what point should be in each place. All right, well done. Thank you for watching. All the best as you work through your assignment.